The mysterious artifact gleams under the harsh excavation lights as the alien research team backs away in pain. On Nexus VI, an ancient vault has revealed its prize, a suit of armor that defies all known science. Dr. Elena Reyes steps through the crowd of frustrated researchers, her human status earning dismissive glances from the more evolved species present. The armor has rejected contact with every being in the galaxy, burning, shocking, or simply becoming impenetrable to all who approach. "Let the human try," someone suggests mockingly. Elena ignores the condescension in the voice of Chief Researcher Vex Loren, the 7-foot-tall Arcturian whose violet skin still bears marks from where the armor rejected his touch. His facial ridges contract in what she recognizes as their species' expression of amusement. Perhaps primitive neural patterns will confuse its defense systems, another researcher adds, triggering ripples of laughter throughout the chamber. Elena approaches the pedestal where the armor hovers, suspended in an anti-gravity field. Unlike the ornate battle suits worn by the Galactic Alliance military, this armor possesses an almost liquid smoothness, its surface a deep obsidian that somehow captures and reflects light differently, depending on the angle of observation. Preliminary scans suggest an age of approximately 30,000 standard cycles, says her assistant Kira, the only other human on the expedition. Material composition remains unknown. Elena removes her research gloves despite protocol, earning a hiss of disapproval from Vex Loren. She feels drawn to the armor in a way she can't explain, almost as if it's calling to her specifically. 20 years of synorchaeological research has taught her to trust her instincts. Dr. Rice, direct contact is not advised. The facility's AI announces through overhead speakers. Previous attempts have resulted in 17 injuries of varying severity. Noted, Elena replies, her fingertips now inches from the surface. The air seems to vibrate between her skin and the artifact, creating a visible distortion like heat waves rising from desert sand. The chamber falls silent as Elena's fingertips brush the cool surface, and the impossible happens. Instead of rejection, the armor pulses with a soft blue light, humming a welcome that reverberates through her bones. The sensation rushes through her nervous system like liquid lightning, intense but not painful. Knowledge edges into her consciousness, fragments of a language she's never heard yet somehow understands. Scanners go wild as quantum activity spikes between Elena's neural patterns and the artifact, forming a connection that leaves the galactic expert speechless. The anti-gravity field collapses, but instead of crashing to the ground, the armor maintains its position, oriented toward Elena like a predator tracking prey. "Impossible," whispers Vex Loren, his earlier mockery replaced with something closer to fear. The probability calculations for compatibility with any known species were run extensively. Humans ranked last on the viability index. The armor begins to separate individual plates, reconfiguring themselves into an open configuration. It's an invitation Elena intuitively understands. "It wants me to wear it," she says, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. "Absolutely not," interjects Security Commander Zora Korthal, her 4 arms simultaneously reaching for her weapon, a restraint device, her communication link, and the chamber's emergency lockdown controls. "This facility will enter containment protocol immediately." But Elena can feel the armor's impatience, an emotion that shouldn't be possible for an inanimate object, and the fragments of knowledge becoming clearer. Danger, urgency, warning. "I don't think we have time for protocols," Elena says, stepping forward as the armor opens further, ready to embrace its chosen bearer. "Something's coming. Something it's been waiting to warn us about for thousands of years. It speaks through sensations," Elena explains to the hastily assembled Galactic Security Council, trying to describe the flood of images and emotions the armor shares with her mind. 3 days since first contact, and the diplomatic situation has become as complex as the technological mystery. The council chamber forms a perfect circle, with representatives from the 27 most influential species seated in rising tiers. Elena stands at the center, the armor now a sleek band around her right forearm, its resting state when not fully deployed. Armed guards from 4 different security forces maintain positions at each entrance. Sensations are subjective and unreliable, declares High Counselor Mesdar of the Tholian Ascendancy, her crystalline exoskeleton refracting light into prismatic patterns across the chamber floor. We require objective data. Elena suppresses her frustration. The neural interface doesn't transmit information in ways your scanning equipment can detect. It's like. She searches for an analogy they might understand. Like trying to record a dream. The counselors watch with poorly concealed disdain as she describes star maps and battles against shadow beings from deep space. Whispers circulate about human imagination and primitive fear responses. The armor showed me coordinates. Elena continues, projecting star charts onto the chamber's central display. These systems contain evidence of an ancient war. A war we might soon be fighting again. Admiral Zextrol, a 6-limbed veteran of countless conflicts, rises from his seat. His species, the Corvesh, dominated galactic military strategy for millennia. Their evolutionary path through predatory pack hunting makes them naturally suspicious of outliers. Humans lack the cognitive development to interpret such advanced technology, he states flatly. Your species only achieved faster than light travel 3 centuries ago. The civilizations represented in this chamber have existed for thousands of years. He descends to the chamber floor, towering over Elena by nearly 2 feet. His scaled skin bears ceremonial markings from dozens of successful campaigns. I respectfully request direct examination of the artifact. He continues, extending a clawed hand toward Elena's arm. The room tenses. Elena feels the armor's response before it happens, a sensation like needles beneath her skin. Admiral, I wouldn't. She begins. His hand reaches for the armor in its containment field and recoils as energy crackles across his scales. The discharge is brief but powerful, sending him staggering back several steps. Guards move forward, weapons raised. Stand down. Elena commands, surprised by the authority in her own voice. The armor flows like liquid mercury, breaking free of its bracelet form and sliding across her arm, expanding until it covers her from neck to fingertips in a seamless second skin. Security teams surround her, with weapons drawn. Wait, she says, as knowledge fills her mind. The armor projects directly into her consciousness, clearer than before, organized and intentional. Galactic coordinates, stellar life cycles, energy signatures matching nothing in current scientific records. It's showing me something, a threat coming towards all of us. The armor's surface ripples with images of stars going dark, one by one, a pattern of extinction moving methodically across the galaxy. The projection expands beyond Elena, creating a holographic representation visible to everyone in the chamber. Silence falls as the council witnesses the simulation of 17 star systems, failing in sequence, exactly matching unexplained astronomical observations from the past decade. This is happening already, whispers a Meridian observer, their photosensitive skin paling to white. We thought they were natural stellar phenomena. Admiral Zextrol studies the projection, his earlier skepticism transforming into tactical assessment. How long do we have? He asks, professional respect replacing condescension. Elena lets the armor guide her response. Months, not years. It's been trying to warn us since it was created. That's why it needed a compatible host to deliver the message. And why humans? Asks Counselor Mizdar, her tone softer now. The armor contracts slightly around Elena's arm, a gesture she somehow understands as uncertainty. I don't know yet, she admits, but it's going to show me. Elena stands at the center of a massive training chamber, the armor now fully bonded to her body. Its sleek contours enhance her every movement as she dodges energy blasts from combat drones with impossible speed. The facility, buried deep within an asteroid formerly used for military testing, has been repurposed in the week since her council presentation. Response time improved by 18%, notes the monitoring technician, their voice echoing through the cavernous space. Alina barely hears them. The armor guides her through movements she never could have executed on her own, anticipating attack patterns nanoseconds before they manifest. It feels less like wearing a suit and more like dancing with a partner who knows the steps better than she does. Scientists from 17 species monitor her vital signs, arguing about the implications. Holographic displays surround their observation deck, tracking everything from her neural impulses to the quantum-level interactions between the armor and her cellular structure. The neural interface is evolving. Dr. Ventura observes, her translucent skin revealing the rapid firing of her 3 hearts. The Illyrian scientist has become Alina's most vocal supporter, fascinated by the symbiotic relationship forming between human and artifact. No technology should adapt this quickly. Admiral Zextrol watches from the highest observation point, his expression unreadable. Since their confrontation in the council chamber, he has neither apologized nor repeated his dismissals of human capability. Instead, he studies Alina with predatory focus, as if cataloging weaknesses for future reference. "Accelerate Program Delta 9, he commands. Warning lights flash as training protocols shift without warning. The single-file attack drones reconfigure into a swarm formation, their energy weapons charging to levels well beyond safety parameters. "Override that order," Dr. Ventura demands. She hasn't been cleared for Delta 9. The Admiral ignores her. "We don't have time for gradual acclimation. If this threat is as imminent as claimed, we need to know the armor's full capabilities." Alina feels a moment of panic as the swarm surrounds her, firing from all directions simultaneously. The armor responds before her conscious mind, hardening in microseconds, reflecting energy blasts back toward their sources. When she instinctively drops to one knee, the armor flows like water, forming a shield above her before reconfiguring around her limbs as she springs upward. When the highest difficulty combat sequence activates without authorization, Alina doesn't panic. She surrenders to the armor's guidance. Her body weaves through attacks that should be imperceptible to human reflexes, her movements becoming increasingly fluid. The distinction between her intentions and the armor's responses blurs until they function as a single entity. "Remarkable," whispers Zextrol as she neutralizes the final drone, catching it mid-air and crushing its central processor with a precision grip. As the training sequence ends, Alina removed her helmet, the only piece of the armor that maintains rigid form when deployed. Sweat plasters her dark hair to her forehead, despite the suit's advanced cooling systems. "It's not enhancing my reactions," she explains to the assembled scientists, breathing hard but exhilarated. "It's anticipating possibilities before they happen." Dr. Ventura approaches with a hydration pack. The quantum entanglement between your neurons and the armor's matrix appears to create a temporal advantage. Processing time flows differently within the interface. "I felt it," Alina agrees. "Like everything around me slowed down while." An alarm blares through the facility, cutting her off mid-sentence. Emergency protocols activate, sealing bulkheads and engaging defense systems. "Perimeter breach," announces the facility AI. "Unknown vessel approaching." Classification: non-compliant with identification protocols. Alina feels the armor tighten protectively against her skin as tactical data flows into her consciousness. "It's them," she says, meeting Zextrol's gaze across the chamber. "The Vanguard is here." The alien vessel hangs in space like a twisted sculpture of obsidian and bone. Through the viewport of their research ship, Alina watches as conventional weapons dissolve against its hull without effect. Military vessels from 3 different species coordinate their attack, their most advanced weaponry appearing insignificant against the intruder. "The design matches nothing in our archives," Captain Mira Lin reports, her fingers dancing across the command console. As the only other human granted clearance for this mission, she navigates their observation vessel with precision, maintaining a safe distance from the engagement. It's absorbing energy rather than deflecting it. "This is what the armor was trying to warn us about," Alina whispers. The armor pulses against her skin, its resting form as a second skin bodysuit allowing for normal movement while maintaining constant contact. It grows warm as it processes the visual data of the enemy ship, comparing it to information stored in its ancient memory. Behind her, representatives from the Security Council argue over evacuation protocols. Admiral Zextrol maintains that their forces can contain the threat with sufficient firepower, while Councillor Mesdar insists on pulling back to defensive positions around more populated systems. Dr. Ventura approaches Alina, her 3 hearts visibly pulsing beneath translucent skin. The armor is reacting to the vessel. What is it telling you? Alina closes her eyes, surrendering to the flow of information. The armor shares glimpses of an ancient war, billions dead as shadow ships consumed world after world, not just destroying planets but erasing them from existence, converting their fundamental energy into something unrecognizable by conventional physics. "They're harvesters," she murmurs, processing the fragmented memories. "They don't conquer or destroy. They transform. Convert reality itself into something else." A blinding flash interrupts their conversation as the enemy vessel releases its first attack, not a conventional weapon but a wave of anti-energy that tears through the flagship's defenses, leaving a perfect spherical void where the central command module once existed. "Impossible," gasps Zextrol, his military composure momentarily shattered by the sight of his species' most formidable warship cleanly bisected. The armor constricts around Alina's body, and knowledge crystallizes in her mind with sudden clarity. The armor wasn't just a warning system or defensive tool. It was created to actively combat these entities. Its rejection of all other species makes sense now. It wasn't programmed for compatibility, but for specific neural patterns capable of processing its combat protocols. Alina makes her decision without announcing it. The armor understands her intent before she even forms the thought, its nanites reconfiguring to full combat mode as she moves toward the auxiliary airlock. "Dr. Rice, what are you doing?" Captain Lin calls after her, but Alina doesn't pause. "What the armor was designed for," she replies, the helmet forming around her head as she speaks, her voice modulating through its communication systems. "Buying you time to evacuate everyone." The airlock opens at her command, and she steps into the void. Instead of death, the armor cocoons her completely, propulsion systems flaring as she navigates the battlefield. The enemy vessel redirects all weapons toward this new threat, recognizing the armor where it ignored the galactic fleet. Within her protective shell, Alina accesses star charts pointing to a hidden world, a place where answers wait. The coordinates burn into her consciousness as she narrowly evades another void beam from the harvester ship. "Captain Lin," she transmits back to the research vessel. "I need you to send these coordinates to the Council. There's something there, something that can help us understand what we're fighting." As she speaks, the harvester ship adjusts its configuration, unfurling appendages that were hidden within its structure. Alina recognizes the pattern from the armor's memories. It's preparing for pursuit rather than attack. "It knows what I am," she realizes aloud. Or rather, what the armor is. The harvester accelerates toward her, ignoring the continuing barrage from the remaining fleet vessels. And it's afraid. The temple rises from an uncharted jungle planet like a mountain of crystal and light. 3 days since their narrow escape from the harvester ship, and Alina still feels the phantom sensation of void beams passing within meters of her armor. Only the unexpected arrival of a Meridian battle group had created enough confusion for her to break away, the armor's propulsion system pushing beyond safe parameters to reach the coordinates embedded in its memory. "Atmosphere is breathable, but dense with organic particulates," reports Kira, running her scanner over the temple entrance. "No detectable energy signatures beyond standard background radiation." Alina studies the structure with growing wonder. Unlike the sterile precision of Galactic Alliance architecture or the biomimetic designs favored by the Illyrians, this temple incorporates seemingly contradictory elements, geometric perfection intertwined with organic flow, like mathematics expressed through living tissue. Her small team of allies, scientists and warriors who believed her warnings, fan out around the perimeter. Captain Lin establishes a defensive position, while Dr. Ventura catalogs botanical specimens with obvious professional delight. Most surprising is Admiral Zextroll's presence. After witnessing the Harvester's attack, he personally volunteered to join the expedition. The Council believes this is a wild diversion, he admits, falling into step beside Elena as they approach the entrance. They've ordered full military mobilization around core worlds. And yet you're here, Elena observes. His scaled lips pull back in what she now recognizes as a grimace of uncertainty, a rare expression for his predatory species. I've commanded fleets against every known threat in this galaxy. What I saw that ship do, our conventional defenses are irrelevant. Elena stands before wall carvings that shift and change as she approaches. The armor hums against her skin, recognizing patterns invisible to her unaugmented perception. It's responding to us, she murmurs. To you, Zextroll corrects, gesturing to the carvings, which flow toward her position like metal filings drawn to a magnet. Elena reaches out, the armor extending from her fingertips to make contact with the wall. Energy cascades through the structure, illuminating channels previously invisible within the crystalline surfaces. The entire temple awakens, humming with the same resonance as her armor. Her team watches in awe as the armor interfaces with the ancient structure. From the central chamber, light erupts in a controlled explosion, resolving into holographic figures. Beings with familiar five-limbed bodies, but features both human and alien. We were the vanguard, the projection explains, its voice resonating directly in their minds. The figure's appearance shifts subtly, cycling through variations that include characteristics from multiple galactic species. When the void came, we scattered our essence across 1,000 worlds, seeding the potential for our return. The truth stuns everyone present. The human neural pattern matches the Vanguard's genetic signature, not just similar, identical. Your adaptability, your intuitive leaps of logic, these were our strengths, the hologram continues. The armor recognizes its creators. Dr. Ventura steps forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial shock. These beings appear to share physiological traits with multiple modern species. Because they were the progenitors of many, Elena realizes, information flowing from the armor into her consciousness. Not just humans. The hologram nods. The void sought uniformity, a single pattern to all existence. Our defense was diversity. We fragmented ourselves, each fragment evolving along different paths across thousands of worlds. A star map activates, showing the shadow fleet's advance toward populated space. You are not ready to face them alone. You need the other half of our legacy. The coordinates burn themselves into the armor systems, pointing toward the heart of restricted space, a region forbidden by galactic treaty for millennia. What lies there? Asks Zextroll, his tactical mind already calculating. The hologram's expression becomes solemn. The weapons we could not use. The armor is merely a key. The lock awaits you. The council chamber erupts in chaos as Elena presents her findings. Three-dimensional projections of the temple recordings hover above the central platform, showing the Vanguard's message on continuous loop. Security forces line the walls, their weapons visible reminders of the tension permeating the proceedings. This human claims to be descended from precursor beings. High Counselor Moxar announces with unconcealed skepticism. The ancient Droshan's feathered crest flares with agitation, a biological tell that undermines his attempted diplomatic neutrality. She requests access to the Forbidden Zone. Elena stands firm despite the wave of murmurs that follows. Admiral Zextroll takes a position slightly behind her left shoulder, his presence a surprising endorsement that silences some of the more vocal critics. I've transmitted all sensor data from the temple directly to your scientific council, Elena states, her voice steady. The armor remains in its minimal configuration around her wrist and forearm, though everyone present knows how quickly it can deploy. The genetic markers are unmistakable. Assuming the data is genuine, counters a Tholian representative, their crystalline form refracting light across the chamber floor. These convenient discoveries coincide perfectly with the arrival of an unknown threat. A threat that destroyed 3 battlecruisers with technology beyond our comprehension. Zextrol reminds them. I witnessed it personally. Elder Tyne, oldest of the silicon-based Quar collective, raises a crystalline appendage. Light pulses through the Elder's transparent body, a communication method as much visual as verbal. I have analyzed the temple data myself, Elder Tyne announces, each word formed with deliberate precision. Her genetic resonance with the Vanguard cannot be falsified. The chamber falls silent. The Quar collective maintains the most extensive genetic database in known space, their living memory stretching back nearly 15,000 years. If the Quar confirm this, begins Counselor Mesdar, before being interrupted by the chamber's emergency broadcast system. Projection screens materialize around the room, displaying real-time feeds from multiple sectors. When the first distress calls arrive from the outer colonies, debate transforms into desperate action. The Shadow Fleet has arrived in force, consuming everything in its path. These are not isolated incidents. Alina insists as tactical displays show simultaneous attacks across 17 systems. This is a coordinated invasion. The armor pulses against her skin, transmitting fragments of memory, ancient battles, failed defenses, worlds reduced to void-scarred husks. The armor alone cannot save us, she continues, addressing the stunned representatives directly. We need what's hidden in the Forbidden Zone, weapons designed to work with all our species. She faces the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds, feeling the weight of history and future balanced on her next words. The Vanguard didn't just seed humans. They placed fragments of themselves in many species. Her gaze moves deliberately to Elder Tyne, to the Meridian observers, to the Corvesh military delegation. The temple data contains genetic markers that match at least 17 current species. Together, we form their complete legacy. Moxar studies the tactical displays, watching as another colony goes silent. The Forbidden Zone has been sealed for reasons beyond historical record. The treaty predates even the founding of this council. Whatever dangers lie within, Alina responds, they cannot match what approaches from without. The vote passes by the narrowest margin, and their mission begins, a desperate race into territory no ship has entered in 10,000 years. As the chamber empties, Zextrol approaches Elena with uncharacteristic hesitation. Your armor, he begins, his voice lowered. Could there be others like it, designed for different physiologies? Elena considers the question, the armor warming slightly against her skin. I believe that's exactly what we're going to find. The Forbidden Zone hums with energy as their ships navigate the debris field. Ancient defensive systems recognize the armor's signature, clearing their path to a massive space station at the zone's heart. What orbital scans identified as a small moon reveals itself as an artificial construct larger than any known installation in the galaxy. Energy readings are off conventional scales, reports Captain Lin, her hand steady despite the strain evident in her voice. Their expedition fleet consists of 17 vessels, each carrying representatives from species identified in the temple's genetic database. The structure appears to be waking up. Elena stands on the command deck, the armor fully deployed except for her helmet. The closer they come to the station, the more active the armor becomes, feeding her information in increasingly coherent streams. It's responding to our presence, she explains, or rather, to the specific genetic signatures aboard our ships. Admiral Zextrol studies the tactical display, his predator's instincts clearly uneasy in this unknown territory. The debris field contains wrecks dating back at least 20,000 years. Multiple design configurations, like an entire fleet, was destroyed defending this position, or attacking it, adds Dr. Ventura, her analysis more focused on the station itself. The architecture incorporates elements from at least 5 distinct technological traditions, yet functions as a unified whole. Inside, they find thousands of armor suits in suspended animation, each designed for different physiologies. The vast chamber stretches beyond visual range, illuminating progressively as they advance. Unlike the sterile uniformity of Galactic Alliance storage facilities, these displays have an almost reverent quality, like memorials more than arsenal. These were the Vanguard's last line of defense, Alina explains as the station activates under her touch. The information flows through her armor, translating ancient systems into understandable concepts, one for every species they seeded. Elder Tyne approaches a crystalline suit clearly designed for core physiology. Our oldest histories speak of the Great Departure, when our ancestors left the ancestral pools to follow star paths. We believed it metaphorical. When shadow probes penetrate the zone's outer boundary, the station's systems identify a startling truth. The Shadow Fleet is not invading. It's returning. Holographic displays activate throughout the chamber, showing the trajectory of the harvester vessels across millions of years. These are automated harvesters, Alina realizes as the armor shares new information. The void consumes evolutionary potential, the very diversity the Vanguard created. As representatives from each species cautiously approach their ancestral armor, Alina feels her own suit's excitement, an almost emotional response that should be impossible for technology. The armor isn't technology as we understand it. She explains, watching as a Meridian diplomat makes contact with a suit designed for their aquatic physiology. It's a symbiotic entity designed to bond with specific neural and genetic patterns. All around the chamber, ancient suits awaken, responding to the descendants of those they were created to protect. Admiral Zextrol approaches a sleek, predatory design that mirrors his own physiology and combat stance. "Will they accept us?" he asks, uncharacteristic uncertainty in his voice. "We've evolved over thousands of generations." Alina smiles. That was the design. They weren't waiting for perfect copies of their creators. They were waiting for what you would become. As representatives from each species bond with their ancestral armor, abilities manifest that complement each other in ways no single species could achieve. Human intuition, core crystalline processing, Corvesh tactical experience, all enhanced and connected through the armor network. The station's central core illuminates, revealing a tactical display of the approaching Shadow Fleet. For the first time in millennia, the Vanguard's defensive grid reactivates, preparing for the final confrontation. "They're here," Alina announces, her helmet forming around her head as proximity alarms sound throughout the station. It's time to finish what our ancestors started. The Shadow Fleet darkens the skies over the galactic core worlds. Conventional defenses fail against weapons that exist partially outside normal spacetime. Planets go dark as harvester ships descend, their void beams carving perfect hemispheres from populated continents. Alina leads the United Armor Forces, 5,000 warriors from hundreds of species, each connected through the neural network their ancestors designed. The armor that once rejected all aliens now serves as the foundation of their unity, enhancing natural abilities and compensating for weaknesses. "Formation Alpha," she commands, her thoughts transmitting instantly through the armor's shared consciousness. Their defensive line curves around the Shadow Fleet's vanguard, drawing them away from the densely populated systems. "They're targeting us specifically," observes Admiral Zextrol, his voice resonating through the network. His ancestral armor has transformed him into a perfect fusion of tactical intellect and predatory instinct, metallic claws extending from his gauntlets as he tears through a harvester drone. They recognize the threat we represent. Alina's armor propels her through debris fields where orbital platforms once stood. "Focus on the command vessel," she directs. The smaller harvesters are automated extensions. The Shadow flagship looms at the fleet's center, a construct of impossible geometries that hurts the mind to observe directly. Its surface ripples with void energies that negate matter on contact. In the heat of battle, Alina discovers the armor's final protocol, a merging of consciousness across the entire network. As she approaches the flagship, time seems to slow around her. The armor speaks directly to her mind, no longer in fragments, but in a clear voice that carries the weight of eons. This was always the purpose, it explains, not conquest or domination, but synthesis. The void seeks uniformity through destruction. We seek harmony through diversity. Together, the collective voice of the defenders resonates through the bond as Alina initiates the protocol. 5,000 minds join as one, each contributing their unique perspective to a shared consciousness that transcends individual limitations. The flagship targets Alina with its primary weapon, a concentrated beam of anti-existence that has consumed entire worlds. Her armor responds by drawing energy from all connected suits, creating a counter-resonance that meets the void beam in space. Where the energies collide, reality itself shimmers with potential. The Vanguard's final weapon isn't destruction but creation, transforming the void's negation into new patterns of existence. The Shadow flagship disintegrates under their coordinated assault, its harvesters falling into disarray without central control. Alina feels the death of the void consciousness as a sudden silence after endless screaming. When the final enemy vessel crashes into the gas giant Helios, celebrations erupt across every world. In the aftermath, Alina and her diverse team stand before the Council, their armor now permanently bonded to their bodies, transformed by the battle into something new, neither fully technology nor fully biological. The Vanguard didn't choose humans alone, she explains to the assembled representatives. They chose all of us, creating diversity as their greatest defense against extinction. The council chamber falls silent as the implications sink in. The hierarchies that defined galactic politics for millennia seem suddenly arbitrary in light of their shared heritage. What happens now? Asks Councillor Mizdar, her crystalline form reflecting light from her newly bonded armor. Alina looks around at her companions, former adversaries united by common purpose and shared experience. We rebuild, we explore, we continue what the Vanguard began. The armor that accepted a human first has revealed a greater truth. No single species was meant to inherit the stars alone. As the delegates disperse, Alina feels the armor's satisfaction, a mission completed after countless years of waiting. Was this always the plan? She asks it silently. The armor's response flows through her consciousness with warmth that feels almost like affection. The beginning recognized its end. The circle closes, and a new one begins.